Hey everybody, it's Matt, Wrestling with Whiskey, back again. A little side-by-side tasting action from the Barrell Bourbon, Barrell Craft Spirits line of whiskeys. Today we have Barrell Bourbon, batch 22, and we have Barrell Rye, batch 3. Now, to those who are unfamiliar with Barrell Craft Spirits and what they do, they are a distillery out of Kentucky, and the owners basically went around and sourced barrels from various distilleries, not just over the country, but all over the world. These guys have stocks from Scotland, Poland, all over America, Canada, Ireland, everywhere, to make different kinds of whiskeys, blends, and now they as well do rum, and so they're constantly expanding their line. So the story with today's batches, we have Barrell Bourbon Batch 22, which just won gold at San Francisco Spirits Competition. Barrell Batch 21 took home the best small batch bourbon, I think of a certain age, I believe, into the 10 to 12 year, something like that. But it took home a best bourbon honor. And this is but batch 22 here is the follow-up. We'll see how it fits in. And it is a mix of 5-year barrels from both Indiana and Kentucky. We don't know where those barrels are from. Those are never disclosed precisely, but if it's from Indiana, we can safely assume it's probably an MGP selection. From Kentucky, could be any of the big distillers. They all sell barrels and source barrels to various different distilleries, so it could be any of them. The rye we have over here is a mix of 4-year all the way up to 13-year rye. Starting with mostly American rye here, but then they also added in some Polish rye, it said on their website, as well as some 13-year-old Canadian rye to really add some of that oak and everything like that. But a majority of it, I believe, is 4-year rye from right here in America. So, how do these two whiskeys from these premium brand and one of the fastest growing craft distillers in the country, how do they go side by side? Only one way to find out. Let's try it. Let's start with the rye, simply because I'm generally not a rye guy, but I'm open-minded. So here we have Barrell Rye, batch 3. The proof on here is 116.7. Cheers. And it's got a pretty light color, actually. In the light there, it looks kind of dark, but here looking at it against the light, for having some 13-year in there, it's not super dark, but that might just be depending on how much is in there, really. Little ethanol peeks off the nose there. But candied rye, almost like sugary herbal notes. Floral tobacco, almost like leaves. Definitely some pepper spice in there for sure. But a lot of candied notes. Sweet, which is nice. It's not an overly herbal or super spicy on the nose rye. Ooh, a lot of heat off the initial sip. Rolling in right in the middle palate, slowly creeping down the back of the throat. Very floral on this, which you would expect from a high rye product. You know what it's like from a higher rye bourbon. Well, this is all rye, baby. And it's very, very herbal, flowery. The older rye gives it, I think, a little bit more of that sweet candy, because I think the oak does that to rye. Because rye does generally mature quicker than bourbon. You can see a lot of 2-year ryes, 2, 3, 4-year ryes that feel very mature compared to the same age of a bourbon. Bourbon peaks around 12 years or something like that, and that's usually where it gets really good. Rye can get good in that 3 to 6 year mark. But if you do let it age, generally a lot of 10 plus year ryes have this like oaky, candied, like herbalness. That's just, it's really sweet when you let it age that much in oak. And this definitely has a lot of that. That is a very well balanced rye. I would suggest if you're getting into ryes, and aren't sure what to try, this again, it's a premium product, so it might be a little steep for you, but this is like true heart of rye, and it's really well balanced. The one thing that Barrell Craft does really well is, they're blending, and they blend so well, especially considering it comes from different sources. There's a lot of craft people who source barrels, and it's 400 barrels from MGP, varying Nashvilles maybe, but it's all made by the same distiller in the same place, and they blend them and they come up with awesome stuff. But we're talking stuff from Poland, Canada, America, and they come together and they've got a really good balancing job done. So this is like, boom, rye in rye form that's balanced with all kinds of, it's got the spiciness, there's a sweetness from the older rye, and this oakiness from the older rye as well, but then there's this robust, herbal, flowery note from the younger rye as well. Let's move on to what many of us are more here for, the bourbon, because it's still so popular, but do not count out rye. But this, as I said, is a blend of 5-year barrels from both Kentucky and Indiana. Which distilleries we do not know, but it's all good when it comes between Indiana and Kentucky. We're pretty set. So the proof is very close to the rye. It's 116.6. Cheers to all you in digital land. Stay safe. Stay home. And once again, there's some ethanol coming off here. Not super old bourbon in here. 5-year. Wouldn't call it young, but I wouldn't call it, super oaky or aged yet. Decent little amount of ethanol, but nothing gonna kill you. Deep, almost clove and caramel. Light pepper, like baking spices. Very rich, nougaty kind of nose. Good amount of heat. Thinking about some pretty high rye mash bills. Again, it's also 5-year bourbon. It's not super mature yet. So there's still a lot of that bite and character of youth in it. But it's surrounded by some nice corn and almost like a buttery corn. So I get like popcorn, right? Buttered corn. With a crap load of black pepper on there, right? The spice is very, very prevalent on this. But there's this nice round sweetness and boldness to it. Not overly layered. Obviously, as you have more time in oak, you're going to get more complex tannins and I think more leather, tobacco notes. Some of those more mature, fruity, deep, dark fruit notes will come out later. But this is a very bold bourbon for only being 5 years, aggregate. Some nuttiness in there too as you keep going through. The finish is very, to me, almost walnutty, with a little bit of oak on the finish. Not super duper long, but it's covers the whole mouth, which is a very nice feeling. It's very covering and a nice little drying effect if you're into that sort of thing. But those are just two of the many, many options from Barrell Craft Spirits. I want to thank the folks at Barrell Bourbon, Barrell Craft Spirits for providing us with the samples here today. All I can do is echo what a lot of people have pretty much said about Barrell, which is pretty much these guys do, Joe Beatrice, Trip Simpson, do such a good job of blending. Even their quote-unquote, worst day is pretty damn good. But then when they have some of their best batches and some of the best barrels coming through, like, it's lights out good. I would rate the bourbon right in the middle. Middle just under the kind of middle half for me as far as Barrell Bourbon products altogether. And the rye, I think, is up there, especially for a rye. I'm not a huge rye guy, but batch 3 rye, I think they're only going to keep getting better like they have been with the bourbon. They're on batch 23 or so now, so there's going to be a lot of dips and dives. But here, I think on the rye, they're on the rise. That was terrible. I'm going to go because that was bad. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Always be staying safe, staying inside, and always, always try new whiskeys, but wrestle with whiskey.